Good evening. My name is Burt Gorton, and I would like to welcome you to the November 1st, 2022 Town of Penfield Conservation Board meeting. Here in the room with me, I have Pat Schickler. Did I pronounce it right?
You did.
Thank you, Pat. Daniel Moore, Roseanne Cohen, and Doug Sangster are Planning Board Liaison. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Did people have a chance to look at the meeting minutes? I did not have any changes or issues. Everybody take a minute. Any changes or concerns? Give everybody.
Looks good to me.
Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And so our meeting minutes of October 4th, 2022 are approved. Tonight, there are no guest speakers. We're going to delay Tree City USA strategy moving forward with the town and the board till the December meeting. Communications, Doug, do you want to?
So the only thing we have is just reiterating one that we've previously, is that the Monroe County Fall Land Use Trainings, they're one in-person one. Registration's closed. It's this Thursday, but they have several webinars available relating to clean energy community, solar, battery storage, and comprehensive plans.
Yeah, you've been sending those out to everybody, so I don't know
Yes.
whether anybody has had an interest in.
Can you watch those webinars anytime? Or you have to watch
No, I believe they're streaming them at a specific date and time, so like Monday, November 30th from 5:30 to 7:30, but as opposed to the other one, which is in person.
Okay.
All right, so that brings us to board discussions, and we've got the report of the proposed development on 2305 Penfield Road. Pat, Daniel, and I took a look at that last week. The report's there in front of everybody. In summary, and I know, Doug, if you could pull up that GIS map, yeah, there, the map. So this is a development as you are headed east on Route 441. You pass through the intersection at Route 250 and 441. You pass through the light at where Watson Road comes into 441. And about maybe 100 yards east of that, there is the community home on the right, and then there is a vacant lot that you can see the brownish colored there on the GIS map, then continues with some already developed residential. So it is an approximate 2.5 acre lot. The proposal is to subdivide it into 3 lots, Lot 1 being the closest to Route 441, then just south of that, Lot 2, and then south of that, Lot 3. So it's 1, 2, 3 from Route 441 south. Lot 3 is actually a flag lot, so it has part of the property, on the site, but then there's a little flag that extends from that site over to Watson Road. The current proposal is request for approval is actually a house on Lot 1 and on Lot 2. But Lot 3 is strictly a subdivision activity at this point. The intent with the developer is that they will sell that to somebody, and then at some point in the future, that owner will decide what to do as far as a house on Lot 3. So the lot, and Doug, I guess if you could go back again to that GIS, the map, the Google.
Where is the driveway for this?
So right now, there is a curb cut right there. Yep, Doug can, right by the red car. So that is proposed to keep that curb cut and come in. The driveway for Lot 1 will be just to the left of that. The drive will then continue to the west side of Lot 1 and then into Lot 2 and ultimately into Lot 3. So as you could see by the picture, it just kind of a, hazy brown.
Yeah.
It's really a very unremarkable site. Oh, that's a good one. Very unremarkable site in that it is mostly scrub and brush and grass. It is bordered by trees on the south and east side, and then, of course, the group home on the west side. So there really is, from a conservation standpoint, nothing of note on the site itself. However, on that, and Doug did discuss this with us last meeting and as we were preparing for this piece of property is lower than all the surrounding properties. And it's probably, Doug, maybe a 3 or 4 foot drop?
Yeah,
Somewhere
overall,
in that range?
It's somewhere in that range.
So obviously, stormwater management, and again, Doug had referenced this at our past meeting, and it was very obvious to, excuse me, Pat, Daniel, and I, stormwater management is going to be critical. So what they're doing is that, and Doug, if you could pull up the lot again.
It was a very dry day when we visited, so we really weren't able to see the effect of having gone through any rainstorms, but I suspect.
So you can see at kind of, that would be the southeast corner of Lot 3. So the furthest back from the road, as you're looking at the site from the road, in the back left corner, they're going to put a retention pond. And what I thought was also interesting is that the houses are going to be required to pump their basement sump pumps to that detention pond. So unlike all the rest of us that you just kind of pump it out to the backyard, it's in essence forced main management of stormwater. And I think that as the three of us looked at it and we kind of talked about it, I think the stormwater management is of the biggest concern, and in essence, the summary of our recommendation is so long as their stormwater management plan and techniques meet the satisfaction of the planning department and engineering department, then we don't see any issues with that. Outside of the aside, and I did not include this in the report, but I'll make it an editorial comment, because my track is just the other side of 441, about 100 feet south of that, onto Pine Brook Circle. Wow. And I know there's DOT discussions that are going to be going on. Traffic through there is a nightmare. As we were all standing there, both pulling into the lot and standing there, personally, for myself, I would not want to live there and have to go west for anything. But that's really not within our purview, and DOT will have to. But that is always, and again, just the historical for myself, because we looked at years and years back, we looked at a development on the north side, just before you got to Watson Road. There were some townhouses that had been put in there, and I know Paul Sugnut and I were part of that review and things, and that's always a bit of a very tricky section of road. People really get humping from coming out of Macedon or Newark, and the east side of it into the town. So But, so again, that's just a editorial comment, if you will, from my experience, but from the true Conservation Board standpoint, our issues were the stormwater management.
Yeah.
And as long as the town is satisfied with what they're putting in, then we didn't feel there was any issues with this development.
Yeah, they're leaving that whole line of trees that's a buffer right now to the other property. There are a few trees that would need to be taken down, like on Lot 1, but those trees are so
No,
small.
They were going to keep those.
But it looks like there's going to be a house building on those first 3 trees.
I thought they were keeping them.
What?
Okay, no, I won't debate you, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But they were
when
so
they say
small.
trees, it was
Yeah.
like, with no leaves on them, they were awfully hard to see because they were about the diameter.
I had to ask
your
like 4
finger.
times, are you sure there's a tree there? And Daniel's going,
You know,
yes,
one
that's right
thing, one thing,
there.
Doug, I probably could have included in the report, and then I didn't, but it stopped. Right, so even this type of development, they're obligated to meet the street tree policy, correct?
Yep.
I mean, so there
Yep,
will
so
be
2 trees
a
per
couple
lot.
of additional trees.
Should
but-
we add a line in? Can we?
No, I think that's just,
Okay.
it's a requirement of the,
Okay.
that's why I didn't bother, because I knew
Okay.
it was.
Didn't the guy that owns that property just clear it?
Yeah, yes, that was part of the thinking, is this clearing happened relatively recently. Street view doesn't, I mean, the street view's 10 years old at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it was
but-
pretty unremarkable, just kind of
Yeah.
a square,
No, I know, I go by there
got
all
some
the
grass,
time.
yeah, got some grass.
But they own, sort of, it's hard to tell because the group home went in right around the same time. Their property line,
And again, for purposes of the meeting and rules of Roberts, I'd also like to include that Jeff Bartucci has joined us, so another board member.
yes, their property boundary is probably right around and in line with the
Yeah.
utility pole.
All right, so unless there's any other questions, that's kind of our report. So moving on to the agenda, Tree City USA is, again, that work's going to come. I mean, the commitment from the commitment from town board is that we're going to do it. We'll
Yep.
follow through on it and just,
And we just didn't have the staff for meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Mark Valentine is out of the office. and-
yeah, that's fine.
So,
Another item we had here was the pollinator garden town flower. Is there any update from either Pat or Jeff regarding that? or-
So I did a little research, for what it's worth on town flower, and had a few ideas. So one would be, if the board is interested, we can see about talking with either Kathy Knauer or Anna Jarvis in the local history room to see if there is a flower that has a specific historical value to the town or to the founding of the town, something that was popular or was commonly found. One other item we looked at is we do have a data set that maintains, we call it rare species, but does include local wildlife, including plants that were natively found here and that are generally either endangered, threatened, protected, or functionally extinct. So we do have a list of those, and it could be something where the board considers looking at one of those off that list. They're not the prettiest flowering plants, though some of them are flowers. So one in particular.
So is this for the kind of a designation of a town flower? Is that what
Yeah.
the?
The ones on that list, because we were thinking of building things around handing out plugs of the town flower. I mean, if they're endangered or almost extinct, on the one hand, that might be to promote them. On the other hand, would they survive? Would it be extra difficult to get them?
So my understanding is that the issue with a lot of them, or in this one specifically, the one I looked at was known as the sweet-scented Indian plantain, which is a native perennial found in the Northeast But because of heavy development that happened starting in the 19th century, as well as bringing in invasive species, is really what we did to kill it off. So it's listed as being endangered in Connecticut, Maryland, Minnesota, and New York, threatened in Iowa and Tennessee, and historical in Rhode Island, meaning it's assumed to be locally extinct.
What did you say about Rhode Island?
They consider it extirpated, meaning destroyed, so, or local extinction. So it's not extinct worldwide, but you won't find it natively, regularly growing.
So how would we go about procuring that some?
I don't know. I haven't looked that far into it. This was just, I pulled out a few of them that were on that species list that
Is it a
were-
flower?
That were flowering. So it does flower.
Oh, that's pretty.
The only other thing about it is if we do that, and I'm fine, we could change it from a vote to an unveiling, but if you get a whole bunch of flowers that people don't know what they are or have never seen them before, they're not going to know what they're voting for. So if we did something like that, I think we would just go ahead and do an unveiling at a certain time and then handle it that way.
I would like to include in that, if we're doing an unveiling thing, is to highlight the advantages of reintroducing it or promoting its growth to.
And would that also be, it would say there, is it considered a pollinator?
I think it is. I think it's
'Cause that would be-
considered a pollinator.
That would be helpful.
Start putting them in the gardens all over, talk to our friends over at that place, so we can get them in the pollinator gardens that we're doing, get some part planted over by the grove, and then send them out, and then they'll get pollinated, and hopefully they'll come back.
Now, what is the, tell me the name of it again. I can't quite make it out there.
Sweet scented Indian plantain.
Okay. Well, it would simplify things in the nature of not having to go through a vote as far as that goes.
I think we could get just as much excitement out of an unveiling of something new.
Oh, definitely, you can hype it, definitely hype it up, but I meant as far as the complications of
the
getting
vote.
out to the right spots for
I would
voting.
agree, and make it in connection with this whole pollinator, that group and what they're doing, kind of make it a combined effort.
Yep, and we could maybe bring them back into town.
Yeah,
And then pollinators do their thing, so hopefully maybe they can,
that sounds like a good idea. Not worry necessarily about making it a town flower. That, we did that with a tree, and
True.
so I think combining it with this initiative.
So as far as pollinator gardens, I did participate with the Healthy Yards Monroe County. It was the Penfield subgroup of that, and we put a designated area at Penfield Rec, and it's on the library side, and it's definitely away from where there would be concerns of salt. So we laid cardboard, put on soil compost from, I forget the name of the place, had delivered to us, and also mulch on top of it. So it is done now, and we'll have to, pull any weeds that work their way through that, but it'll be done until spring when we go back in and plant. And Megan's already holding a series of talks at the library for kids and such, so they can start making use of the look of it. And people were stopping to ask what we were doing.
Where is it exactly?
It's The library, I don't know, Doug, if you're able to pull up the library area. It's near the circle where you, right by the post office box there.
Oh, okay. Is it in that circle?
It's, yes. Yes, it's not too far back from the post
okay.
office box.
Oh, that's nice.
In fact, one of the cars was parked there, and the postman came by and said, did you know it's a federal offense to park near the post office box? So,
So I got one more thing real quick. So Doug, if you would go ahead and include that one and get 3 more, because it's not like we just made a decision on this Sweet Senate thing. I think the board here will vote
And
on.
it's something I can reach out to the
Yeah.
local history room and see if there's anything. I've got a copy of Penfield's Past, which is one of the books written on the history of
Yeah, and then we-
Penfield.
I just don't want people to
See if
think
there's
that this
anything-
is going
This
to
is
be a
it.
flower.
no, this is it. We'll,
Yeah, see
this
if
way
we
we
can
can
find
look at,
anything that's-
and then we can look at the
I like the idea of the-
advantages of each.
I like the idea of the endangered species, endangered
Yeah.
ones.
But if we can include on each one, that you come up with some of what the advantage is, or else I'd be happy to look into it further. But that's a good point, Jeff. But anyways, yes, on the pollinator garden, so I suppose our next steps would be to determine where we want it to be. I think it might be, as we talked, a little bit late for, not impossible, but perhaps late for this fall to be selecting the spot and getting the cardboard and everything else down, because we would also need Parks approval and in their budget to be planting for
What is
that.
going in here over by the mailbox?
What's that?
What's going in over there? That's a completely separate garden?
Megan Myers, I am not aware of what the flowers will be yet, but she's a master gardener and has laid out, it'll be sun. And we're hoping at some point to try to develop a shade pollinator garden under that tree.
So what's the, what are we doing? It sounds like we need to get a few grants to try to get a little bit more money here to do some of the things we're doing. Either that or a small increase in our budget.
Well, she estimated, I don't know how much the soil cost. However, she, I believe, came up with a preliminary figure of the plot, which I don't think was huge, would be around $600 to plant.
I can see if I can investigate some grant funding. See if we can find some money. As far as the budget process goes, I am less familiar with that, but I can also take a look at that.
Yeah, because if we're going to be undertaking a flower and pollinator gardens and the
This other
trees
flower.
and doing an event every year now, I think that it might be a good idea to, one way or another, try to get a little bit more
Well, and
grants or something.
if I might, right, so Piece of Tree USA there is a financial commitment there. So you got to wonder, we'll see kind of how the ultimate program develops, but, I would want to be encouraging the town that a good way to kind of help meet that financial commitment is, instead of like the trees coming out of our budget, the way tree giveaways have done and stuff, is that, maybe that's a commitment that doesn't come out of ours, so that then might free up money for us to do some of these other initiatives. But, I think as we continue to develop interest in the varieties of these initiatives that all seem to be in line with the current supervisor's thinking, that's a legitimate point to say, hey, is there some additional money if we're going to use it? Years back, it was always...
We never did anything.
Yeah, what are you going to do with your money?
Yeah, and we haven't used
Didn't end up
it, and
doing
so
much
now we've
outside of
got
the tree giveaways.
ideas
and
to
stuff.
use
So
it
maybe
for.
if we've got some energy behind some things to do, that's something, a potential point of discussion to have Marie actually hear, although right now is obviously 2023 budget discussion time. But, so I think that's worth exploring. But I think there's some combination of things there that unlike years past where we were kind of on our own, and, oh, what are you going to do? It's like, well, now there's a series of initiatives, Megan, the Pollinator Garden Initiative, the, Garden Penfield and Green Penfield initiatives and Tree USA, so I think there's a lot of things.
And the
The
mayor's
Grove got
monarch.
things going.
Yeah, continue
Pledge.
to move towards and make it a collaborative effort as to what we want to do and then where money comes from for it. So.
I just learned about a Penfield resident that actually is nurturing monarch butterflies in her, and she has a big butterfly house, and she said she's actually crawled through, some of the parks to look for
'em.
butterfly pods and bring them in, and sponsoring more milkweed and such. So be interesting to collaborate with her, and maybe that's somebody we could even have in as a speaker in the winter and spring.
Okay, yeah, I can add to my list.
Anything else on Pollinator Garden, or are we all set? We're kind of direction forward?
I think we're-
Under other business, Doug, before you get to review of ongoing projects, again, EMC meeting in October was, again, a pretty quiet one. The agenda doesn't seem to be as active as it was last year, but I'm sure that'll change at the beginning of the year and stuff. So really nothing of significance from that update. So I don't know, is there a review of any ongoing projects that you want to do, Doug? I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so I'll sort of run through things with the recent planning board agendas. So Chick-fil-A and the Argini station have been quiet. They've been quiet for a few months now, so see where they go from that.
Can we go backwards 1 second?
Yes.
Sorry, before we go any further. So I don't know if you guys hit on this before I got here, but a couple of things. I went over to the Grove.
Oh,
The grass has been cut.
okay.
Some metal things were put around them, not very well, but somebody put metal cages around some of them. If somebody at the Parks Department or wherever, if somebody were to get a battery-powered weed whacker or a battery-powered something or other, I would be glad to periodically go over there and chop the grass down. I just don't have anything battery-powered. We do need to try to, next year, I'd like to make it a point to take care of that. To the point where if I had a battery-powered weed whacker or battery-powered tools, I would just go in there and do it. Maybe do 1 or 2 a day when I go for a walk or something, throw it on my bicycle or whatever, but.
Look like you have a jet engine attached.
But they did cut the grass, they did put those things up, but they didn't cut the grass around it. So some of them were falling off and weren't into the ground.
The stakes.
Not the stakes, but the little metal.
Okay.
I don't know. They look like trees.
deer net.
How do the trees look?
Well, they're hard to find.
Okay.
I don't know if they can be smothered or not, but
Are you going on Thursday, did you
I'm
say?
going Thursday morning. I asked Megan Meyer to go with me, and we're going to go walk the area and take pictures. And Daniel had said something about the sign couldn't be accessed to read it.
It was,
I don't
there
know
was,
if you saw that.
for the plaque that was presented that says like the maple leaf, or maple peace grove, it was like knee high in like weeds. So I'm not sure if the plaque was visible or accessible for people to see.
So I guess we'll still go, and
Yeah,
depending
keep
on
us
the
in the loop.
weather.
Let's-
And so you say it looks better than
It looks
maybe
better, but yeah, like-
was, but
like
maybe
I
not
said-
ideal.
yeah, if I had something battery powered, I would go take care of it. Maybe do 3 or 4.
Well, the thing with the pollinator garden, like, we had the dirt the town paid for. I keep calling it dirt. I know it's mixed with things and delivered. but we provided the cardboard, Megan provided the mulch, we provided the manpower, and it will need to be weeded, which is not, the town will not be doing that, our group would be doing that, so anything pollinator garden that we put in on the basis of Conservation Board is likely going to be the same sort of thing. The upkeep and maintenance is going to have to be, I mean, obviously mowing around it and maybe weed eating around it, but between the plants themselves, we'll have to, be making a commitment to do, which is maybe the same thing for this.
Yeah, I want to make sure that those plants have a chance. Like I said, I don't know if they can be smothered or not, but
Well, all things green are going to be vying for the same sunlight if they're all one on top of another.
Okay, I can put in a request to Parks for increased maintenance schedule.
I mean, if you want to wait, Doug, to see what we
Till you guys visit on Thursday?
may as well
Okay.
get our comments as well, if there's
Yep.
anything in addition, or saying, oh, okay, well,
Yeah, if you guys take pictures, feel free to send me pictures and I can forward them on to Parks and point out specific areas.
Yeah, I guess to me, that's the key. If you're going to go and look, you're going to take some pictures, document it, and forward that documentation. It's one thing to sit here in a meeting and we can't
Yeah, that's what
lob
I
it over
said.
to
I
Doug.
haven't
It's like,
seen it, so-
if we have, folks have concerns, then you take a look at it and get it to town folks. We've got a number of avenues in, you got Mark, you got Doug.
I just meant as long as we're going to go look, may as well wait for that.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so ongoing projects, Doug.
Okay, yeah, so following up, like I said, Chick-fil-A on Fairport 9 Mile Point Road, they've been quiet basically since their public hearing, still quiet. We tabled them at the last meeting with the planning board. The RG&E station on Empire Boulevard has also been a little bit quiet. I know they were working on the planning board, had a lot of issues with the design and layout and architecture of the project. Arbors Phase 2, their review is ongoing. They'll likely be making some changes to the project due to the presence of floodplains on the east side of 250. But the review is ongoing on that. The subdivision on Skimore Lane was recently approved by the planning board. They have to go to the zoning board for a variance for like 3.4 inches for the existing barn on the property. So they'll be going before the zoning board next month in November. But it's conditionally approved by the planning board. 2305 will come up to public hearing here in November. Oh, I forgot the church. Church at 1280 Creek Street. The planning board is still reviewing it. They're likely to take action on it. Would be my guess at their next meeting.
What was it they wanted to do there? What was that?
1280 Creek Street.
That's just a small brick building, right?
Yes, it would just be a small, at this point, they're looking at a 4,000 square foot church building, sort of at the intersection of Creek, Penweb Park, and Sovereign Drive. It was previously approved for a daycare center. That never came to fruition. 2305 Penfield Road will be coming up to the planning board in November. And the planning board only has one December application. That's with the Taco Bell approved here on Empire Boulevard and Creek Street. Their current location has been, or is, I believe, under contract to be sold, and a group is looking to come in to do a car wash on that site.
Oh, boy.
we need another car wash
It's a
over there?
tight site, yeah. So that's, so far, that's our only December application. Town board has been busy. There's been a few rezonings that have gone through. So there's a plot of land here bounded by State Road, Shoecraft, and Plank. That was rezoned to R120. So we're likely expecting some potential development here in the future. It was done to match sort of the existing conditions of the surrounding properties that were all R120, but were rezoned to a lower density at some point after they were built. And what is the other property? They just
More patio homes.
Yeah, I mean, patio homes are in high demand in Penfield right now. Monroe County continues to be a graying county. So I don't know off the top of my head what the median age is now, but in Penfield it was 46 or 47 not too long ago, up from 44 at the last census. So the demand for single-story, ease of access, and aging in place were sort of the big, some of the big issues coming out of the 2010 comp plan are still reiterated or will be reiterated in the 2020 comp plan. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're patio homes.
They're finally starting to build houses on that Plank and Jackson.
Yes.
They're
Yep.
just starting.
I have a piece of old business. When Daniel and I went to the meeting of the
EAC meeting?
EAC, and we had been asked, where did we think we could work together? Was that it?
It was, yes.
Okay. And I'd suggested that perhaps they could come to one of our meetings to observe, and then we could discuss where we think, if anything, overlaps. Maybe there isn't. And so I was just thinking that maybe, that was September 28th, I believe, that we went there. So Daniel and I were talking, and we thought maybe we needed to issue an invitation to have them. I mean, I don't know, Burt, what you think about that. Came out of,
No, I thought I had seen that note and stuff. That's probably a good idea early in
Yeah.
next year to because our December meeting is going to be pretty busy with.
And I can
Sure.
talk to their staff
For US
liaisons
sit-
to see if we can set up a meeting.
yeah, because I know Marie had been interested in, boards collaborating, and I.
Bob Knauer's on that board, right?
Yes, and
Yes.
Matt Piston.
And Matt Piston.
Yeah, they're both pretty aware of.
Yes.
But
both-
again, I think
both
in the
former
co-
conservation board members.
Well, again, in the continuing evolution of everybody's roles, that's probably a good topic for next year to kind of talk about synergies and how we can help each other and not duplicate efforts is going to be the big thing, too.
I mean, maybe there won't be anything overlapping, but,
Oh, I can reach out and see if we can get something scheduled.
But even if there isn't, just the awareness, right?
yeah,
The awareness of what
Yeah.
they're doing,
absolutely.
especially for us, because we've got a little bit of a variety of interest on this board with personal, not agendas, but personal interests. Daniel especially has a lot of those issues, and so it's just making it aware that, okay, yes, there's initiatives out there in the town that are going on and what they are and who they are, and then if, as an aside from the duties of this board, an individual would like to also get involved with some of that other activities, I mean, that to me is the big thing for the, and again, that's what's become apparent out of EMC as I'm listening to everything going on. It's, Megan and Pollinator Gardens, and it's like, okay, so we as the Conservation Board don't have to lead the charge, but we're aware of it. We've got some fingers in it, and so we can kind of keep everything moving and be comfortable and pick up spots, as Jeff, a couple of things Jeff's brought up, pick up some gaps to say, okay, this is now something, that's a spot we can fill and not be counter to what some other folks are doing, so.
And I expect that they, going forward, for example, they would want to continue to work on, anything with Tree City, because they said they would, gave their full support. And sure, when we look at what the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, is that the order the words go in? Actually, maybe at some point, not necessarily December, but we can start looking at what that involves and where we could be of some help.
Okay.
All right, is that it then for review, Doug?
Yeah, it's all.
Okay, I guess just the last item, Doug handed out a proposed schedule for 2023, fits pretty much with the schedules the way we've done, right? The big ones you always look for is July, not interfering July 4th, so we have the July 11th meeting. Labor Day meeting, we go a week out, so we're September 12th. Won't have to have election issues next year. So I don't know, I guess, do we want to go ahead and kind of vote to approve the meeting
Yeah, if
schedule?
you guys are
everybody's
comfortable.
or-
Why is it November 14th? Is that 7th is election day?
Alex, yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah, that'll be local, so, yeah.
Right. yeah.
And then the previous one, Monday, or the previous would be in October, previous Tuesday.
Yep,
So I
Halloween's
guess, do I
Tuesday
have
next
a
year.
motion to accept the schedule?
Yeah.
And we can always, if you guys need to change a date later, we can
Yeah, we can always- we can do it,
discuss
so.
and change a
Fine.
date, but this will get it onto the town's 2023 calendar.
All right, that looks good then, Doug, thank
You
you.
need a second?
No, we're fine.
Okay.
I seconded my own.
Okay.
I seconded Jeff's motion. So I guess at this point, or any other items or topics anybody wants to? Just be thinking, again, we kind of, a number of years back, said the EMC assignment was kind of a year by year. Roseanne was my predecessor in 2021, and Paul was the year before. So be thinking about that. Again, they meet the third Wednesday of every month, 4 to 5:30. And even post-pandemic, they're tending to stay with a Zoom schedule. So you don't have to truck up to, a lot of times in person, I wouldn't mind, but at 4 o'clock, you're going over to Henrietta to the Monroe County facility and back and forth. And quite frankly, they took the summer off, so they came back in September and October's meetings. By and far, most of us all participate in Zoom. Because again, we have folks from Rush, Rondequoit, it's a little bit of a hike for some of those people. So it looks like they're going to be able to stay with kind of a Zoom meeting format and things. I will say this year, it's interesting to hear what things are going on in the county, similar to what we've been experiencing with things that are going on here locally in Penfield, to hear those in the county, somewhat in the county, how they interact with Penfield. Our town has been brought up on numerous occasions around the green initiatives and some of that, so it is interesting, and they do get into some good topics. So I would just encourage folks, think about it, and if you have an interest of that.
Interesting to see how the other conservation boards work, too.
Yes, and to
to
talk
see.
with some of those folks.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of conversations that, as I've brought up here before, where some of our other board counterparts are struggling kind of with the same things we are. What do we do? Oh, gee, this is going on in our town. I wasn't aware of that type of thing. So, yeah, it's a pretty good group, pretty interesting group and stuff. So I'll encourage somebody to think about that, and because again, I'll be attending the November and December meetings, but then January we'll need somebody else. So, all right. So if nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? We're adjourned. We're out. Thank you.
All right.